Royal Caribbean Cruises has had some serious issues with this global pandemic and all, but the chart is looking promising. Hang around and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Hi, this is Tim from TradingStrategyGuides.com. So what have you guys been doing to pass the time while on lockdown? Are you still working? Relegated to your sofa binging on Netflix? Or maybe you're taking this opportunity to do some family or home things that you haven't had time to do before. Tell me in the comments below what's going on. Today's trade pick is an ascending triangle on the stock Royal Caribbean Cruises. All of the travel stocks have had a tough time the last few months due to the pandemic, but Royal Caribbean's chart is showing some bullishness. I'll show you that in just a few minutes. But first, we once again have a bunch of charts to go through. And later on, today's trading maxim. I hope you honored your mothers yesterday. Happy Monday. Let's get on with it. Remember to click the subscribe button and hit that bell so you won't miss any of these great trade setups. Let's take a look at our active trades. This is the Palladium setup from a couple of weeks ago. It's hit our target right here, and we're waiting for the parabolic SAR, which is up here, to move down below our entry price so we can start trailing the stops on the second half. So McDonald's hit our first target right here on Wednesday. We got some profit, and now we're waiting for the price to drop and the PSAR to pop, and they'll meet somewhere in here, I would say, and that will cause the parabolic SAR to jump up here, and then we'll have to wait for it to come down and get down to here so that we can start trailing our stops. I know that sounds mighty confusing, but you'll see what it does in a few days. The US dollar Mexican closed below the triangle right here on 77% of the average volume. So I sold a half size position just ahead of the close on Friday. My entry is 23.6739-ish. My stop loss is 24.6353. And my first target is 23.0330. Now we wait. Well, the Nasdaq 100 popped up here and hit our stop. So that's just how it goes sometimes. Small loss because it was a half-size position. So we'll move on to the next one. And the Euro New Zealand dollar dropped right down here and hit our stop before it closed back inside the bull flag. So we're out of this again. Small loss because it was a half-size position. Kraft Heinz closed below the bear flag last week. That's this pink flag back here, but it was on insufficient volume, so I didn't get into this trade. The volume and the volatility have continued to decline here, so I redrew this bear flag to include all these new candles down here, and it actually kind of matches up back here a little bit better. As before, we're looking for a close below this bear flag to sell. And that is all for the active trades today. Let's take a look at today's pick. A friend of mine was considering investing in some cruise line stocks and asked me for my opinion. I pointed out to him that I don't take into account any fundamentals or news events, with the exception, of course, of avoiding stocks with earnings statements coming out. Speaking of which, I'm recording this on Sunday night, and the earnings statement is scheduled to come out on Royal Caribbean tonight sometime. So I'm going to show you this consolidation, but understand that if the earnings statement causes some wacky price movement, you need to stand aside on this and let it settle down before entering. Basically, I'm saying this should not trigger on Monday's close. If it does, don't take it. That would be too huge a move for a single day, and you want it to breathe a bit before you get into it. I also want to start this analysis with a caveat. While I firmly believe that everything that can be known about a market shows up in the current price, cruise lines and other transportation and vacation industries are being hard hit by this global pandemic and the public's reaction to it. We could be on our way out of this financial crisis right now, or this could just be a temporary reprieve. In any case, I would consider this a higher risk setup than others that I've shown you because of that. So be sure you don't over leverage a position on RCL or any other stock that is dependent on the public's ability to take vacations or anything that could be considered a non-essential service. This is a daily chart of Royal Caribbean Cruises with a bit of a wacky looking ascending triangle. Remember, I told you these things don't have to be pretty. An ascending triangle consists of a strong resistance level like this one here at 50, with several historical touches or approaches of the line, and then a series of higher lows as fewer and fewer traders are thinking about taking this short. Each time the price gets back up to the resistance level, it chips away at sell orders until it finally breaks through. It should break out of the pattern with strong momentum, and a good consolidation pattern like this should be accompanied by a decline in volume and volatility like you see here. I measure the volatility using an average true range, or ATR, which shows the average length of the last 14 candles. And here's the trade plan. We're going to buy a daily candle close above the triangle or above 50. On the breaking candle, to enter a full-size position, you want the volume bar to reach the volume average right here. If it doesn't quite reach the average but does reach 75% of the average volume, I'll open a half-size position to reduce risk. You can calculate the percentage by taking the volume number right here, dividing it by the volume average right here, and you should get a result of 0.75. If you don't get at least 0.75, I suggest you stand aside on this trade. Your stop loss will be 1.5 times the ATR, and your first target will be 1 times the ATR. So let's say this breaks and closes right up here, and just ahead of the close you will buy this, and on that day you look down here at the ATR, you'll multiply that number by 1.5, and you'll measure that distance below the entry, and that'll be your stop loss. Then you'll measure 1 ATR above the entry, and that will be your first target. If after entering the trade you get a candle close back inside the triangle, take the loss right then and don't wait for it to hit the stop loss. Our intention is that a breakout above the triangle should be explosive and hit our target fairly quickly. If the momentum goes away, we want to shut the trade down without taking a full stop if possible. When the price hits our first target, we will close half the position for profit and set the stop loss to break even on the remainder. We will then follow stops as price moves in our direction until the market takes us out. These two rules are the very definition of cutting your losses and letting your winners run. Typically, I do this using 2 positions. The first position has a stop loss and a take profit. That position will close automatically when the first target is hit. The second position will only have a stop loss, and that's the position that will be allowed to run. When the first target is hit, we will have to manually move our stop loss up to break even on the second position. I will only risk about 2% of my account on each trade. And that's today's setup on Royal Caribbean Cruises. Remember, my intent here is to tell you how I manage these trades. If you've already got a good trade management plan, use it. Things that work for me may not work for you. You have to understand your own mind to find the best strategies for your trading. And speaking of understanding your own mind, that's my intent for the trading maxims. The maxims help me control my emotional impulses and keep me on the straight and narrow path. A maxim is a general truth, fundamental principle, rule of conduct, or a proverbial saying. The purpose of my maxims is to motivate me to discipline in trading as well as other areas of my life. I suggest you start your own list of maxims, things that you can say to yourself while you're trading or doing life to make sure you always do the right thing. Feel free to borrow from my list. And today I've got a brand new maxim for you. Tim's Trading Maxim number 75. During the hard times, it's important to focus on the things you can change in that moment instead of what you should have or could have done differently. And this comes from Annie Thorisdottir. In case you guys are not familiar with the rules of CrossFit, you should know that the first rule of CrossFit is to always talk about CrossFit. And you know I always follow the rules, right? Annie Thorisdottir is a professional CrossFit athlete from Reykjavik, Iceland. She is the first woman to win the CrossFit Games twice and owns a CrossFit gym in her hometown. When you're having a tough time, concentrate on the things you can change right then. Don't worry about the stuff over which you have no control. When you're trading, you have absolutely no control over what the market is or will be doing. So why sweat over it? If you get stopped out or you have a loss, what's done is done. No reason to get upset or worry about it. Focus on the next trade and focus on following your rules. And speaking of rules, remember our Royal Caribbean Cruises trade plan here. We're going to buy a daily candle close above the triangle or above 50. If the volume is not quite average, go half size as long as it's at least 75% of the average. Your stop loss is 1.5 times the ATR, and your first target is 1 times the ATR. And remember to click the link below to the trade management video for more details. And also remember to sign up for my free Trading Picks email list to be sure you don't miss any of these great picks. I send out about 2 or 3 trading picks a week from all different markets, and you'll get to see them first. And the best thing is, it's free. I'll put the link below this video. And be sure to come back to Trading Strategy Guide's YouTube channel every week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time for my new videos. Don't hesitate to ask any questions you may have. I'll either answer your question right in the comments or in a training video or both. And remember, the only stupid question is the unasked one. Be sure you don't miss the next installment of the Trading Education series this Wednesday when I'll discuss the game of trading. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up below. Have a great week, and I'll see you Wednesday.